Next presenting company is Prolight Diagnostics with CEO Ulf Bladin. Welcome.
Thank you. Earlier this morning, this patient visited his doctor at his primary care center, complaining for chest pain and short of breath. Obviously, the doctor was considering, could this be a myocardial infarction, or is it something else? In order to detect myocardial infarction correctly, there is a need to measure a biomarker named troponin at very low detection levels. However, since most of the troponin tests are performed at hospital labs, the turnaround time is quite long. So, the doctor at his primary care center, he had to take a decision. And to be safe, he called an ambulance and made sure that the patient came to the hospital as quickly as possible. By this example, I wanted to illustrate that there is truly a high demand for point-of-care tests to provide faster, accurate test results directly to the doctor while the patient is present. So next time you hear about point-of-care testing, you should remember that they are performed close to the patient outside the hospital laboratory on small mobile instruments to give fast and reliable test results with high precision and high accuracy. So, by detecting or excluding, for example, myocardial infarction early in the primary care setting, one may then offer a faster and appropriate care for those who are affected. But at the same time, you can also avoid unnecessary hospitalization for those who doesn't suffer from, for example, a myocardial infarction, and thereby you can have significant healthcare savings. So my name is Ulf Bladin, and I'm working as a CEO at Prolight Diagnostics since July 2020. And we are focusing on developing innovative point-of-care systems for faster, accurate diagnosis of acute conditions, for example, myocardial infarction. And we are targeting quite a big market. As you see on this slide, the global point-of-care market accounted for more than $29 billion in 2020. And it has projected to grow up to close to $52 billion 5 years from now. That means we have an annual growth rate of 7.4%. And this trend is supported by a continuous growth. First of all, the last 2 years we have seen throughout the COVID pandemic that the use of point-of-care tests has increased substantially. We also see that we have an increasing elderly population in the Western countries and also increased investments in R&D. But if you go back to these cardiac biomarkers, you see on this slide that last year they accounted for almost $9 billion and they have projected growth of 9% up to almost $15 billion 5 years from now in 2027. But for this biomarker troponin, we also see that there is estimated to be a revenue of $3.6 billion end of this year. But it's not only the cardiac biomarkers, there are also an increasing demand for other new point-of-care tests in several clinical areas. And therefore, the board, they gave me the assignment to look more careful into business development, and more specifically, to monitor the developments of new technologies and evaluate if they could possibly complement the company's existing offer, so that Prolight Diagnostics could become a unique company in point-of-care testing. So, after careful analysis and evaluation of several companies' new technologies, it became evident that the most pioneering with the highest potential was the British company Psyros Diagnostics. Therefore, after an extensive due diligence, we were so happy that we, in January 20th, could announce that we have been able to acquire this British Psyros Diagnostics with newly issued shares at a fixed value of 65 million crowns. We have paid them 30% at closing, which occurred on March 1st, and we will then pay the additional 70% during the coming 2 years under the conditions that the predefined milestones have been achieved. And I just also want you to note that all newly issued shares will have a lock-up period until the end of 2025. Okay, so if we look into Psyros Diagnostics, what have they done? Well, they have developed a pioneering, groundbreaking single molecule counting point-of-care technology for digital immunoassays. And this patent-pending, also multiplex-capable technology enables measurements of biomarkers at extremely low concentrations, and with a response time with only 10 minutes or even less. And to our knowledge, there are no other point-of-care systems capable of offering this performance with such simplicity and high sensitivity. The system itself consists of a simple, easy-to-use cartridge together with a dedicated analyzer. So there is no need for expensive components or expensive consumables. And this gives us the opportunity of having very low production costs. And the test itself is performed with only a small drop of blood. So this novel multiplex capable technology is also very much aligned with our existing strategy. So, to sum this up, Psyros' pioneering technology truly enables the measurement of biomarkers at extremely low concentrations. Or we then have a digital technology, and that's based upon measuring individual molecules. So how does this work? Well, each molecule bleaches a black spot here on a fluorescent layer, which we then may count. This in turn gives us an ultra-sensitive application where we may detect biomarkers at extremely low concentrations, but with the high sensitivity and precision. So this novel technology brings then significant advantages. It's truly unique, it's simple, and it's also cost-effective. So we then may be able to provide a totally new, novel point-of-care system at a fraction of the cost of the large-based laboratory platforms. This also, innovation, provides the opportunity for us to develop completely new, ultra-sensitive point-of-care tests in several other clinical areas that was previously only possible to perform at specialized laboratories, such as neurological pathologies. Here we're talking about dementia and traumatic brain injuries, and we're talking about immune system dysfunctions, such as sepsis and autoimmune disease. And last but not least, virus detection, including COVID. And after these 2 years, all of you are probably aware of that currently PCR tests are recommended for definitive detection of COVID. And why is it so? Well, it's due to their extreme sensitivity. But there is a pitfall. The PCR tests, they have a very long turnaround time to get the results. It can take several hours, sometimes up to a day or even more, depending on the laboratory system. What's then unique with Psyros' platform is that with this technology, it opened up the potential that we could provide the same sensitivity or even surpass the performance of this PCR test for detection of contagious viral particles. But more importantly, these results could be provided with as little as 10 minutes or even less, which is a significant faster turnaround time compared to PCR tests. All of this development would not have been possible without having a very competent team behind. And there are 4 founders at Psyros Diagnostics, and they all have a very long and broad experience in IVD development, and particularly when it comes to point-of-care tests and system development. They have already developed another point-of-care system all the way from concept through to a CE marking, which they also successfully exited to Novartis for $90 million. And as you may see on this slide, all these 4 founders, they have a very impressive background. And therefore we are so happy that now they will continue with their important work under the umbrella of Prolight. And we have just appointed Steve Ross, one of the 4 founders, to Chief Technology Officer. Eileen McGettrick, she's been appointed to Head of Product Development. Julie Richards has been appointed to Head of Assay Development. And then Paul Manogan, he's appointed to Head of Engineering. So now you may be wondering, so what do they believe and what do they think about this acquisition? Well, I believe Paul phrased it quite well. He said that they are delighted to be joining Prolight, and that they see Prolight as an ideal partner for Psyros. And that they now believe that the synergy of the combined companies will allow us together to get the product to market more rapidly for the benefit of patients. I couldn't agree more. I just wanted to iterate how important it is also for us that we now have gained the competence and experience from Psyros coming into Prolight, as we are now focusing on development of the most innovative point-of-care systems together. And I feel that I truly believe that this new joint company is extremely well positioned to become one of the strongest players on the point-of-care market. Now, in order to bring these innovative systems to the market, we need to attract more capital. And therefore, we have now initiated a rights issue of units. And you can read more about the specific details as well as our prospects on our webpage. But let me give you some words of how we intend to use the capital. Well, it all is about developing our 2 innovative point-of-care systems, the digital from Psyros and the Microflex from Prolight. And what we are starting with right now as I speak is that we are trying to integrate Psyros into Prolight's product portfolio as quickly as possible, so we can start the development of the prototype and cartridge as well as the prototype of the instrument, so we may perform sensitivity analysis and generate more performance data. Once this is done, we will then move into developing of a commercial system and start of the manufacturing of a cartridge, bringing us into the regulatory, where we now are targeting to get the regulatory process started in the US and Europe. For Microflex, we are then continuing our development to a commercial cartridge for distributed testing. And here we want to include more biomarkers, and also we want to evaluate if there is a potential with multiplex. And we truly believe that this special project that we are now performing together with our technological partner TTP will strengthen the ongoing dialogue we have with a number of potential partners regarding Microflex. So, to sum this up, I want to say, first of all, that I hope I have been able to convince you today that there is a pronounced need for point-of-care tests, but they must be able to measure biomarkers in very low concentrations with high sensitivity and precision. And that's exactly why the platform from Psyros Diagnostics is so disruptive, and it differentiates us from competition. Because to our knowledge, there are no other point-of-care system capable of offering this performance with such simplicity, sensitivity, and extremely low detection levels, with only a single drop of blood or a swab test when we use for virus detection. So all in all, Psyros Diagnostics' pioneering point-of-care technology may be the beginning of a paradigm shift within point-of-care testing. So therefore, I truly believe there is a great potential for value increase for Prolight Diagnostics. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you for an interesting presentation. Could you tell us a bit more about your long-term goals and how the acquisition of Psyros Diagnostics can help you achieve these?
Yes, the long-term goal for Prolight Diagnostics, that's to bring the most innovative point-of-care systems to the market. So we will help them to perform correct and accurate diagnosis as quickly as possible with the patient present.
And how do you view the market potential in distributed testing?
Well, as I tried to explain during my presentation, during the COVID pandemic, we have seen an increased awareness about the benefits of point-of-care testing. However, today many of the tests are only performed at hospital labs, but they are still required by the physicians in the primary care. So we want to become a strong player in the distributed testing. So therefore we have instructed our technological partner, TTP, to develop a universal cartridge so we can then get a significant position in this rapidly increasing market.
And could you tell us a bit more about the possibility to measure multiple biomarkers?
Yeah, multiplex is now something that is asked for by many of our customers. And therefore, again, together with our technological partner, we are looking in to see the potential to also include multiplex on our Microflex platform. However, on the Psyros point-of-care technology, we know it's already capable of performing multiplex. So obviously, that even strengthens our perception of Psyros Diagnostics being a truly pioneering company.
Interesting, and thank you for being here today.
Thank you.